I'm just Jay.
And I'm T.
And together with Ozzie, we have packed the car and are driving to Belize. Come join us on our journey. Buenos dias.
Good morning.
Day 5.
Yes, it is.
And we're in Mexico.
Yeah, we are. But we had to count to figure out if it's day 5. So I think we're both getting tired.
I think it's like reading the captain's log.
Yeah.
Day 412. But it's day 5.
It's day 5. And it's hot and it's sunny and it's beautiful. So
100%. And yeah, let's talk about yesterday.
okay, well, I think we did talk about yesterday up till Ozzie went to the vet.
Until Ozzie went to the vet, so we talked about getting his paperwork and everything done, and then we got back on the road. So that was at Lubbock, Texas, and we continued on to where did we stay last night?
Last time we stayed in
Eagle Pass. Eagle Pass. So we sort of spent our time yesterday driving, getting prepared, trying to figure out everything that we would need to cross the border, which we did this morning. So we had our phones on for a bit, used up a bunch of data, and tried to get stuff sort of organized. But I'm jumping ahead. Let's go back. Breakfast yesterday morning after we had Oz done, we found again in Lubbock, similar to when we were around Denver area. There's just not a lot of areas to pull over and have breakfast, but we did find right near the vet clinic a not yet built subdivision. So the streets were paved and that in there, but there was no houses or anything. So it was actually a really good spot that we just pulled over and made some oatmeal and had breakfast.
Yep. Yeah, it was a really nice spot.
From there, we didn't really have nothing really to talk about from between there and lunch, really. We just drove through Big Springs, got some groceries, picked up a few things, got some gas. And after Big Springs, we found a little park, I guess. It was on Mineral Wells Road, and we keep calling it Mineral Wells Park, but that actually was incorrect. I think I might have the name here, but yeah, go ahead, tell me about the park.
It was just a beautiful little spot, kind of in the middle of nowhere. We'd seen very little water in Texas. There's a bunch of spots named creeks and rivers and draws, and they are all empty. I'm kind of starting to think we have a very different definition of a river in Canada than what they do in Texas. And we pulled over and drove down the road, not very far off the interstate, and just a beautiful pond and flowed under a tiny little bridge, and that was just a really great spot for lunch. A big tree that we haven't checked yet. We haven't decided if it was a walnut tree or maybe a pecan tree. So a big shade tree, and just it was absolutely wonderful. Really nice break in the day. You have to excuse me if I'm a little distracted. It's my first time driving in Mexico, and there's a different set of rules here. So we're currently on an undivided highway, and they treat it as though it's a 3-lane highway.
Yeah, so it's marked as a 2-lane.
Yeah, so I'm trying to follow the rules, and I'm one of the slower vehicles on the road because of it. And every time somebody comes to pass, to be courteous, I'm supposed to move over so they can go by as in the driving lane. So
yeah, it's essentially treated that that center dotted line is actually the center of a 3rd lane that just drives right down the middle of it, whether they're passing from this side or the other side. So it's actually very efficient.
It is, yeah. Somewhat risky, and everybody has to be paying attention and doing their part, but yeah, it works really well.
For sure. Yeah, sorry, don't have the name of that park. When I do this write up on this video, I'll put that in there. But anyway, yeah, beautiful park, so it was a nice place for us to stop. And then we carried on to Del Rio. So in Del Rio, we got a an oil change for the car. We wanted to get one done before we left the States. And he dropped me off at a photocopy place where I started photocopying the few documents that I hadn't done. I guess mostly it was the paperwork that we had for Oz that morning. Plus, in the car while we were driving to Del Rio, I did get the insurance for the car, the Mexican insurance for the car. So we wanted to get that printed out, a couple copies of that. I was also trying to get some passes for the Hoy No Circula, which is basically a no in Mexico, specifically in Mexico State, around Mexico City, also in the Puebla State. They do have certain days where, depending on your your vehicle license, will depend whether or not that vehicle is allowed to drive on that day. So it's just a way of reducing emissions. And there's one day a week that your vehicle is not allowed to drive unless the emissions are bad. Then they do add in some environmental days as well. As a tourist, though, you can get passes for that, which means you don't have to obey those restrictions. I was able to get my one for the Puebla State, but was having a heck of a time trying to get the one for the Mexico City State. Anyway, we got those printed off and checked our dates for the license plate for our vehicle, and actually figured out that we're not going to need one for the Mexico City State anyway, so we're good to go with that. So yeah, Del Rio, we got some paperwork done in that, and then we zipped right down to Eagle Pass.
Yep. It was a really good day. There was lots of Border Patrol and local police activity along the border.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to the lady that checked us in at our hotel, which was the welcome in
Eagle Pass.
Yeah, and I happened to mention that, and it looked like there was joint operations in that, and yeah, she said that's very common. And the other thing she said was one of the hotels downtown is the Florida State Troopers are in town, and that means that a senator has come to visit and will snarl up traffic over the next few days. So yeah, there was no shortage of law enforcement in Eagle Pass yesterday.
Okay, very cool. I didn't hear that. That's neat. Speaking of the hotel, the Welcome Inn, again in Eagle Pass. Nice motel, quite a big motel, with a pool in the middle. We saw some of the kids there hanging out last night in the pool. Once again, I guess this is a common thing. I was surprised at the cost for the pet fee. So it was $40 American for the pet fee for Oz. But it is what it is. I mean, the whole reason we're driving to Belize is because of Ozzie, so we know that there's certain things that we just have to sort of have concessions for. So last night we again just sort of finalized things, organized some paperwork, made sure we have what we thought we needed. We've never done this before. And first thing this morning we got up and headed for the border.
As it turns out, maybe 10 or 15 minutes too early.
Maybe.
But
it was just a little bit dark. That's the only thing. It has nothing to do with the hours of the border crossing. We crossed, again, we were in Eagle Pass. We crossed at bridge number 2. I think that's the Camino Real. And it is a 24-hour bridge. The North Bridge is closed, I think, from 10 or 10:30 at night until 7 in the morning. 7 in the morning. So we decided to do the second bridge. So yeah, we got there right around 7 o'clock.
Yep, right around 7.
Hello.
Good morning.
Again. Welcome to part 2 of day 5. We didn't know we were doing a part 2.
No, but we did learn something.
We did learn something. We learned that if you are southbound in Mexico and you have your phone unprotected on your dashboard, it overheats and shuts down.
Very quickly. In about 10 minutes.
In about 10 minutes. So, part number 1, we just talked about, we were in Eagle Pass and we were on our way to cross the border in the morning. So, we headed there about 7 in the morning, which was a little bit early.
Yeah, a little dark, yeah.
It was a little dark yet. So we've never crossed at this border crossing, and it was just a little tough for us to figure out where our lanes were. The signs weren't lit, so we were just a little wishing, I guess, that we had a little bit more daylight, that we could see more clearly where we were going. But we figured it out, and the border crossing was super smooth.
Very, very smooth. Yeah, everybody. Well, the little bit of contact we had, everybody was good.
So we just talked to the one border guard there, and he just had T open the window and asked where he was going, had him open the back window, just peeked inside with his flashlight, and didn't seem like he really wanted to go through all our stuff.
No, I think we saw what was in there and asked where we were going, and we said just passing through to Belize, and if there was ever any interest, he quickly lost it and moved us through. So.
For sure. So that was super simple. We had no lineup. Literally 2 minutes we were across the border into Mexico.
Yeah, and then immediately came to a toll for the road we were going on. It seemed like it was part of the border crossing.
Yeah.
But we realized after the fact we'd actually paid a toll, not $4 to enter Mexico.
Yeah, that's right. So just for $4, not a big deal. We had some change, so we were able to get through that. So we did not go to get any of our required paperwork or permits at the Banjercito, which is right at the border crossing for the bridge number 2. We chose instead to continue on to Allende, and there was the immigration where we got our FMMs, which is your temporary tourist visa, and got photocopies of that. Took that and other paperwork over to the to the Banjercito, which is where you get your tip, which is the temporary import permit. So that was, again, really smooth, really fast. We had no lineup for getting our FMM, getting our tip. There was a couple people in front of us that went through very quickly. So, and no tourists anywhere that I could see. It looked like they were pretty much all locals.
I'll be honest, for us, I think it was a really good decision, because just seeing what all was at the border, there was a lot of big buildings, there was military there was border there, and trying to figure out where to go, and especially in the dark, would have been confusing. So for us, it worked really, really well.
Yeah, so we just continued on. I guess it's kind of no man's land from the border crossing up to Allende, and we're able to get everything we needed there very quickly. Again, nobody had interest in Ozzie or anything like that. It was just getting our temporary visas, our tourist visas, which is the FMM, and the tip for the car, which is a temporary import permit. So had that. I guess I should mention, you do need to get photocopies of your FMM. Once you get your FMM, and then right around the corner you go back outside near the bathrooms, and there's just a fella set up with a little table there and a little photocopier, and he photocopied it for us, asked for a tip. We gave him a couple American dollars, and then headed back inside to get our temporary import permit. So that, again, very smooth, very fast.
Yeah, and the immigration officer that helped us with our FMM, very nice. He understood very quickly. We had no Spanish, and he worked very hard to use his limited English to help us. And he was apologetic for his English, and he had far more English than we had Spanish. And,
Right.
I thought he was a very nice man and worked very hard at his job. So.
Yeah, 265 days on Duolingo still can't get me through a border crossing
Nope.
or get through trying to speak Spanish to any of the people there. But anyway, so yes, that was good. We were told that potentially
Northbound check stop.
looks like it. We're just going through a check stop here, or maybe it's just construction. They're having people pull over. I can't quite tell. But anyway, it's not for us. It is in the other lane. We're just kind of having to stop a bit so they can get some big trucks through. But this is Mexico. You just sort of go with the flow. So I was actually just about to say we were anticipating a check stop just outside of Allende, but there was nothing there at that time. So it was smooth sailing.
Yeah. Nope.
Sorry, I know you're concentrating on what's
Yeah.
going on up here. So yeah, smooth sailing from Allende, and I think that's probably about all that we really need to speak about today, I guess, because we're going to talk about everything tomorrow. So we're going to cut this one off. It's getting a little bit long for this day anyway, and we are headed to Matahuala for tonight. So looks like we got another 3 hours to go. So should be good.
Should be.
We should be good. We may have
Yep.
some stops on the way, but I think we'll be there fairly early. So that's it. Day number 5. I'm going to give you a quick pan and